Hey, it's Clay. Welcome to another League of Legends video. Let's go ahead and get this bad boy rolling. I'm doing a Kennen video. This is, I've already have a Why Buy Kennen on my channel. This is not meant to replace it, but I want to highlight a specific build. I'm going to call it like the Korean hybrid Kennen build. But it's pretty sweet, and I would say it's probably arguably the best way to play Kennen. One of the ways that you'll see him played most often in the professional scene in the LCS, and it's how I really like to play him. But so the idea here is that you're going a slightly hybrid, and you're focusing more on AD Kennen for the early laning phase, and then you're focusing more on AP Kennen for the team fighting towards the end of the game, and you try to get the strengths and weaknesses covered of both playstyles. So Kennen he's pretty much an AP carry with all of his abilities having AP ratios, but he is ranged, and he has strong safety and disengage with his E, and he's got reliable crowd control with his passive, which makes him a very ideal top laner. There aren't a lot of ranged top laners because a lot of times it's not very risky, but Kennen has a lot of safety, which allows him to go top lane, so you can really be a lane bully just because of your range. And then if you go AD Kennen and focus a little bit more on lifesteal early on, you can also have tremendous sustain, which is generally a weakness of Kennen, that he doesn't have any inbuilt sustain. So this build kind of covers all of that. So just to kind of highlight the overarching build as a whole, you want to start with 2 early Dorn's Blades, and then from there, and also you want to start with more of an AD set of runes and masteries. And then you want to go towards AP after that, getting Zhonya's, Haunting Guys, Death Cap, Void Staff, all that good stuff. Traditional AP carry styled items. So anyways, let's talk a little bit about why this build works so nicely. So first of all, if you're going to go top lane and you're going to play a ranged champion, typically the way that Riot balances range and ooh, as I'm going all in here on this Jace, I think I am going to get that kill, and we'll see if I can maybe get away. But anyways, as we watch this, typically, can I get the stun? Yeah, I'm going to get away. Typically, what Riot does is ranged champions have slightly weaker base stats to make up for the fact that they are ranged. Because they have an auto attack advantage over their melee counterparts. They typically have lower, base health and attack damage and attack speed and all that good stuff. So the idea is that if a melee champion gets on top of you, you're generally in a lot of trouble. So if you ever take like a Vayne or an Ezreal top, you're going to do really, really well up until the moment when that Bruiser gets on top of you. Then you're going to be in big trouble. But with Kennen, he actually has fairly high base ratios because he's not meant to be an AD carry. He's designed more as, I guess, an AP carry, but he does really work as a top lane bruiser. He's got good attack speed. He's got fairly good base attack damage, although they did nerf that slightly to put him more in line with other ranged characters because it was kind of ridiculously high before this. But the biggest thing is that he's got crowd control with his stuns on his passive, and he's got a really reliable escape on his E. And that allows him to be very, very safe in the top lane. So even though he's bullying these champions around, if they try to get on him, he can just disengage very reliably. He can E away, you can do a quick QW, and if you got the E proc on them, they're going to be stunned, and there's nothing that they can do. And it works really, really well for that. Also, one thing to not underestimate is the passive component of his W gives him an AD steroid. So when you combine the high lane safety with strong attack damage, early on, if I'm taking, let's see, I think in this game I took, let's double check. Yep, I'm taking 3 lifesteal quintessences for that sustain. I'm taking attack damage marks, armor seals, magic resist blues. So a very straightforward, this is like my AD carry setup that I run on every AD carry. I also run it on like Tryndamere. I also run it on like Lee Sin in the jungle. Very versatile rune setup that I really would recommend a lot of people have. You could also do 4% lifesteal with, that would be 2 lifesteal quints and then 1 attack damage quint. That's also a very popular way to run this type of a setup. But I like 6% just to give you that a little bit extra lifesteal. I really like lifesteal. I think it's a very powerful stat. I think a nice stun there on Jace. But so with that setup, if you take, let's look at the way I started the game. And then for masteries, also sorry, before I get into that, for masteries I go 17-13. Especially because Jace is an auto attack champion. Having 13 points in defense instead of 9 is very crucial. So I take 4 points in the health, I take, I think I go 2 and 2 for the armor and the magic resist, then I take the veteran scars for that other flat health, and then I do unyielding and block. 2 points in unyielding, 1 point in block. Those are on the left side, and those really reduce auto attacks damage that you take from enemy champions. And I also think there's maybe one more point that you have to throw in somewhere, maybe for... we might just throw it into... You could do that in a lot of different things. You could do it in the regen, you could do it actually in the minion, blocking the minion damage. That's a fairly good... especially for top lane where there's a lot of minion aggro going back and forth. You could also just throw another point into armor. There are a lot of different things you could do at that last point. But getting 13 points in defense is really, really solid for top lane. Then in offense, I do kind of a weird setup. I take 4 points in attack speed, and then I do 10 points in the both scaling attack damage and then armor pen, and then the scaling ability power and magic pen. So kind of the heart of that tree, I take 10 points going right there, and then I think you have 3 more. So then I usually just do flat AD and flat... and then I also think I do the spell sword mastery as well. That's very, very nice. So basically with runes and masteries, I get 6% lifesteal. I get some good defensive stats, especially from auto attacks. In the defensive tree, I get a lot of both attack damage and ability power, armor pen, and magic pen from the offensive tree. And then, so I basically have a very strong setup for my auto attacks. I have a very strong setup to survive the brutality of top lane, where it's really dog-eat-dog. And it basically just sets me up for an extremely strong laning phase. Then my first buy was actually a Doran's Blade. I really like the Doran's Blade start on Kennen. Just because he is so mobile with his E and he's got stun, so it's very hard to gank him, so you can kind of get away without an early ward. And especially against Diana in the jungle, which they have. Diana has extremely small gank pressure pre-6, which is primarily when I'm going to be without a ward. So I felt very, very safe and able to get away without buying a ward early on. So I got that early Doran's Blade. And so that I go to lane, and I've got tremendous sustain for my lifesteal quints and the Doran's Blade passive. I've got great attack damage. For my auto attacks are going to really hurt. I've got great mobility. I've just got a really strong early game setup from runes, masteries, items, focusing more on an AD style Kennen that's focusing on auto attacks. Because, you know, even if you're playing AP Kennen, your auto attacks are the brunt of your harassment and your damage. And if you see it, if you just watch, my first back I picked up another Doran's Blade and boots and pots. And I have been absolutely bullying this Jace. It's 78 to 31, and Jace is typically not a champion that gets bullied very easily. He's ranged. He's got tremendous poke. But I've pretty much just been bullying the heck out of him. I think I've been maxing my Q. You can also max W. I would say probably maxing W is a little bit more safe, and probably the more recommended approach. But I was just kind of messing around with maxing Q just to see how it felt. And I think I do prefer maxing W, but Q does give you more damage overall. But the basic idea in lane is that you want to use your auto attacks and a quick QW combo to harass the enemy. If you land your Q, it's a guaranteed W. Also, when your passive 5th auto attack from your W comes up, the one that has the bonus damage and procs your mark, you really want to try to make sure you get that auto attack onto the champion and not necessarily onto a minion. It's much like playing Caitlyn with her headshot. When the passive comes up, you really want to try to get that onto an enemy champion, not onto the minion. So the basic playstyle, like I said, is that you want to be auto-attacking a ton. You want to be using a quick QW to get harassment onto your opponent when they step out from behind those creeps. And then you just want to assert dominance. You've got safety with your E, so you can be a little bit more aggressive in terms of like pushing the lane up a little bit. I feel like I can dive this guy, so I'm just going to ult him. I'm going to ignite him and use my E to get away and just be totally safe and sound. Not a problem at all. Easy dive there onto Jace. And look at this. I'm up 2-0, 32 to 97 creep score. That is absolute destruction in the top lane against a champion who, although he's been nerfed, he's definitely not someone who I think is easily bullied. But Kennen is such a strong lane bully. I cannot emphasize enough. When you focus on this early attack damage from your marks, from your quints, from your masteries, you are so powerful in your early laning. Few champions can really withstand Kennen's onslaught of auto attack damage and crowd control and his safety with his disengage and his escapability. So it just overall makes him a very strong. Right when I get back to lane, I spend no time getting a good... Look at how much damage I'm doing to him right there. So at this point, if we evaluate kind of the lanes and everything, how it's going, I transition into an ability power-based build, getting that needlessly large rod. I'm going to head straight for Zhonya's Hourglass. That's probably the best choice on Kennen. I believe in my Y-Buy and in some of my previous videos, I would continue with more of an AD Kennen approach, kind of an AD bruiser, which I still actually think is fairly viable, even though they nerfed his base attack damage. I still think it definitely can be done. That build is more focused on continuing lane dominance and bullying, and a little bit less on kind of late game teamfight scaling. Ooh, I do kind of get caught out by this gank here, unfortunately, and I think I am going to end up going down. I get chased very, very low, but I do end up dying there. But you can go with that. I would focus on like Blade of the Ruin King, Frozen Mallet, maybe even a Triforce would not be a bad idea on Kennen. His Q is on a relatively low cooldown, so you can get that that proc going. He does use all of the stats fairly effectively. I would also maybe even get like a... I think that this would be a fairly good build to work in... what's it called? It gives you health from your... For every... Oh, good job by TF to pick up that kill. Every health you build, it translates into attack damage. Atma's Impaler. Then I'll maybe even throw like a Warmogs or Randuin's on top of that. That's kind of my AD Bruiser build, which I still like, but that's more focused on split pushing, continuing lane dominance, and then your team fighting rolls. You're basically just good for your stuns. Your damage will fall off just because you aren't building a lot of armor pen, and you don't have a lot of attack speed. A little bit of crit, but I guess you do have some attack speed. That's still a pretty good build, but I think that this AP build is so... It has definite advantages. Because Kennen is a team-fighting monster. His ultimate and his ability to get AoE stuns... Oh, and I do get picked off here. Oh, I do get away! Haha, see you, Zed. But AP Kennen is such a strong team fighter. So when you transition to an AP-based build, grabbing Zhonya's, grabbing Void Staff, grabbing Zhonya's Hourglass, you become... You still have that team fight dominance. It's maybe slightly attenuated just because you don't get it quite as fast. But basically you're trading the weakness of AP Kennen early for the strength of AD Kennen early. But then you trade the weakness of AD Kennen late for the strength of AP Kennen late. So you basically are taking Kennen when he's strong at both stages, all stages of the game. Now you do sacrifice a little bit, especially during this like middle transition period because I haven't really been building much ability power. I basically only have a needlessly large rod, and I am going to get this kill. I basically only have needlessly large rod and Sork Shoes, which is putting, even though I'm super fed, it is putting me behind in terms of where other AP carriers would be if they were this fed. Especially because I put that early money into Doran's Blade and my Runes of Masteries. But it's not too substantial. You still are extremely strong and powerful. So really, like I said, you're getting the best of both worlds. You're getting the real advantages of all of the different builds. And it really just allows you to play Kennen to his fullest efficiency. I really think that this is the way to do it. Oh, there was a weird damage number there on Dragon. And so in team fights, you really transition into that AoE crowd control monster that Kennen is, and you're relying on your Zhonya's Hourglass to keep you safe because you are going to want to dive into the middle of the enemy team. If I see some of their squishies out, specifically Zed, or because Zed is the strongest member of their team, or maybe even Caitlyn, who's also fairly strong. If I see either of them out, I'm not going to hesitate to flash ult, and then while I'm ulting, it really depends. If I get focused immediately, I'll jump right into Zhonya's. If I've got like all 5 of the members around me and they're focusing me, I'll jump right into Zhonya's. If not, I'll use my E to try to run through the members of the enemy team, especially the high priority targets. And then right when I come out of my ultimate, I'll also pop my W just to additionally proc that mark, maybe even pick up a second stun. And so it's just extremely powerful. In team fighting, you've got AoE crowd control and damage, especially in solo queue where team fights tend to be very chaotic. And people are not very coordinated, and people tend to group up very heavily. You know, it's why champions like Amumu and Malphite are strong. Well, Kennen is the same exact principle. He is such a monster in teamfights for those exact reasons. So, really, from this build, you really get all of the advantages and none of the drawbacks. And I really recommend that you guys check it out. It is such a fun build. It's such a strong build. But I do kind of get caught out here. Am I going to be able to get away? Nope. Oh, they're going to pop my Zhonya's, trying to get another set of cooldowns, but nope, I am going to die. Unfortunate, but I did draw 2 tops, so hopefully my team can respond in kind. TF is going super ham. Probably not the best idea. Sorry, friend. I know you came to save my life, but it just didn't work out that way. But at this point, we really want to transition into team fighting. I've completed Zonia's. I'm working towards death cap, and I'm going to be really, really strong. And it's one of those things where there's so many good things going on in this build. Look at how far behind Jace is. That's because I bullied him. You get that advantage of AD Kennen, that extreme bullying power. You're ranged, you've got disengage, you've got crowd control. You're a huge bully. So I've kept Jace way, way behind, and now I'm transitioning into this teamfight build, so I'm still going to be useful. And I just cannot stress enough how I think that this build is incredibly strong, and it's something that you should really have in your arsenal if you're a top laner. Kennen he's really strong. I know he did receive a nerf. I want to say that they changed a couple things about his kit. They lowered his base attack damage, and I think they also reduced the time that your mark will stick on a target. But those really aren't that impactful. They did nerf this kind of AD early style a little bit, just because having a little bit less base AD obviously is going to hurt it if you're focusing on AD early on. But I still really think that this is powerful. You know, losing what was like maybe 2 or 3 base attack damage. I want to say it was at like, I'm not even 100% sure what it was nerfed from or to, but there's a nice ulti. Gonna try to focus on this Caitlyn. Nice job, able to pick up that kill right there with my E. Gonna move on to Jace. Not too afraid of him at this point. Nice ult right there from Nami to help me pick up. There's a double kill. I did get ulted, but there I used my Zonias to cleanse the Z ult, and gonna use my QWE, and I do end up falling, but did a lot of work right there, even though we kind of got caught out. I think we traded, we actually came out on the bottom side of that trade. Must have been caught a little bit out of position, but anyways, if you just watch, I am really, let's see here, not exactly sure what I'm going to pick up. Okay, I got another needlessly large rod, going towards that death cap for sure, and really in a strong position to really start taking over this game in team fights. You know, if I'm able to land a strong, AoE ultimate, getting multiple members of the enemy team, that is going to basically win us the team fight. Picking strong team fighting champions, I think, is very strong in solo queues. Because team fighting is huge. People throw games all the time, and if you're a strong team fighter and can really learn to carry team fights, you can do really, really well. Now I told my team at this point, hey guys, I got flash up. I'm not afraid to flash ult. Will you follow me if I go in? So I let them know that I'm going to be the initiator this game. We do have Jarvan who could do that for us, but I felt like I really wanted to take over and make sure that I can, really dictate in the pace of these plays. Get a Nami speed up. Nami wants to go super hard. I think she's even going to ult right here. But we kind of decided to disengage. Jarvan and TF were a little bit low, so I didn't think it was best to follow up on that because I thought they might die really, really early. But that maybe would have been a good opportunity to follow up on. But we're just kind of tiptoeing back and forth, and really, I'm just trying to find an opening. Like I said, Zed and Caitlyn are my priority targets. If they get a little bit too close, I'm not going to be afraid to go in. But there goes Diana. I'm going to throw down my QW. But waiting for this one right here, there's the ult, and actually Zonia's at the wrong time right here just because they didn't really engage on me, and I didn't quite get enough of my ult stacks onto Caitlyn, but end up helping pick up that kill right there. Now I'm peeling back for Zed, trying to help keep Twitch alive. And this team fight, there we go, nice QW to pick up that kill. The team fight really went in our favor. Even though I didn't play it perfectly, I could have definitely, I probably should have used my E to get in range and then really tried to stick onto Caitlyn with my ultimate. But, that's just kind of the way it works. I also might have been, I actually want to rewatch that. I want to pay specific attention to my cooldowns. Okay, so there, Diana goes in, engaging for them. Let's see here, there's the QW, and now I turn back around, and there's the ult. I definitely should have E'd towards Caitlyn and Jace. That was definitely a mistake. But that's okay, we can learn from our mistakes, that's not a problem. We still ended up cleaning up that team fight, just because you could see how much I pretty much split their team in half with that ultimate, with Jace and Caitlyn immediately on the run, and then Zed and Diana and Tarek were kind of diving or kind of caught somewhere in between. I don't understand what's going on with this damage on Dragon. But it just goes to show you that even if you aren't playing it perfectly, Kennen has such a strong presence in teamfights with this AoE AP build. They're going to fish my Death Cap, get a Blasting Wand towards a Void Staff, I believe. And I'm really strong. This is a massive power spike. I've got a lot of ability power, and I'm really going to be able to do a lot of damage. Let's just take a look at the stats on my ulti. Yep, doing about 370 damage per proc, which is occurring every 0.3 seconds. That's pretty ridiculous. That's going to melt. Let's see, I can stack up to 15 times. That's pretty crazy. Excuse me. Pretty darn crazy indeed. You know, my W is doing 400 damage. My Qs are hitting for almost 600 damage. That's pretty nuts. So here we go. Where's the team fight? It looks like, there we go. There we go. There's the nice team fight. Gonna ult to make sure I pick up Zed, Caitlyn, and Taric. All with my ultimate. There's the W to pick up Taric. There's the, the Q to pick up Taric. There's the W to pick up Caitlyn. I'm going to ignite her. And going to auto attack. And throw out one more Q. And auto attack to pick up the kill for the triple. So, very nice. Able to get, all that damage down. Very, very good stuff right there. And that's pretty much game. Kennen has such strong presence in teamfighting. It's really a powerful champ. So, anyways, that's kind of the build. I did actually sell my Doran's Blade so I could afford the Death Cap. You kind of maybe want to hold on to them, but it didn't really matter at this point. I felt like getting the Death Cap was the power spike that I really needed. Looks like Diana was, I think she was going for this tower, and she did not get it successfully. But, oh, I actually think we kind of derp the ending here. But, yeah, I do get up way safely, and are they going to finish off this Nexus? Yes, they are. Jarvan's the hero. So anyways, that's kind of this hybrid AP Korean Kennen build. Start with a couple of Doran's Blades, get those 80 runes and masteries, transition into that straight AP carry build, it's focusing on Zhonya's, and you get the best of everything. You get the strong early game bullying, you get the great late game AoE teamfight presence, and you're just a beast. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This Korean Kennen build is really fun, very strong, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you soon. Bye.